This Inevitable Ruin, released in November 2024, is the seventh installment of Dungeon Crawler Carl, and it plunges readers into the long-anticipated faction wars. This is the buildup we've been reading about since the beginning. A chaotic battleground where 9 armies, each led by powerful aliens, vie for control of a central castle. This book marks a significant shift in the series, blending intense warfare with deep character development and some unexpected twists along the way. See, the stakes are higher than ever. The AI overseeing the dungeon is deteriorating, and for the first time, death is permanent. Carl and his companions, including the ever-entertaining Princess Donut, the Queen Anne Chunk, and the formidable Katya, find themselves not just surviving, but actively participating in the faction wars. Adding to the chaos, the NPCs have gained self-awareness and formed their own faction, challenging the established order. Now, after 7 books, you might be asking yourself, is it any good? The short answer is yes, but it does have some hiccups along the way. Dinniman masterfully balances humor, action, and emotional depth. The character arcs are compelling, particularly the evolving dynamics between Carl, Donut, and Katya. The introduction of self-aware NPCs adds a fresh layer to the narrative, and the high-stakes battles are both thrilling and thought-provoking. But as with the Eye of the Bedlam Bride, this Inevitable Ruin feels fairly bloated. There are a few chapters that go on way longer than they needed, and it kind of felt like they were only there to extend that chapter's joke and keep it alive. If you've been following the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, this installment is a must-read. It delivers on the build-up from previous books and sets the stage for future developments. Even with my issues, this Inevitable Ruin is a standout entry in the series, offering a rich blend of action, humor, and emotional resonance. It's a testament to Dinniman's skill in crafting a narrative that's both entertaining and deeply engaging. As the series progresses, I'm excited to see how the story unfolds and if we take the fight back to our alien overlords. I thought I knew where The Faithful and the Fallen was headed. For 2 books, John Gwynne delivered a well-told, if familiar, epic fantasy journey. But then I read Ruin, and realized the author was playing a completely different game. See, Ruin is the 3rd book in a series that wears its epic fantasy influences proudly, but isn't afraid to challenge them. Back in Malice, we met Corbin, a classic young farm boy hero, swept into a world of ancient prophecies and brewing war. Valor accelerated the pace, throwing us into non-stop battles and escalating stakes. Now in Ruin, the threads tighten, choices hurt, and consequences catch up to everyone. This is where the series shifts from familiar comfort into genuinely unpredictable territory. At its core, Ruin is where the war for the Banished Lands fully erupts, and every choice the characters make carries consequences that feel permanent. Corbin, once a blacksmith's apprentice, has become the center of this widening conflict, but his rise isn't some effortless chosen one destiny. He wrestles with leadership, the cost of every decision, and the weight of having people follow him into battles where they might not survive. His leadership is earned, not given. Meanwhile, Nathair continues his descent into villainy, still believing he's the hero bringing order and salvation even as his actions grow darker. Watching Veritas confront the lies he's justified for 2 books also becomes one of the emotional linchpins of Ruin. The book is packed with major character arcs colliding. We have Macwin's brutal and satisfying moments, Fidelay stepping further into her own agency, Camlin's compelling redemption arc, and Jael, the perfectly detestable villain you love to hate. Ruin is where the entire series steps up another level. The pacing finds a balance between action and quiet moments, allowing characters to wrestle with their choices and relationships to deepen. Gwynne's prose has matured with tighter sentences and immersive descriptions. However, I still have my frustrations with the series. The villains are practically invincible, often escaping death and disgrace in ways that strain suspension of disbelief. The constant kidnappings and miraculous escapes can feel repetitive. And the non-stop action sometimes becomes noise, leaving characters without the space they need to reflect and grow. That said, Ruin delivers what I want from the penultimate book in a fantasy series. The stakes are higher, the emotional payoffs hit harder, and the world feels like it's teetering on the edge of collapse. If you think you know what colonizing Mars will look like, with heroic astronauts, gleaming domes, and maybe a few dust storms for drama, Kim Stanley Robinson's Red Mars shatters that illusion. This 1992 novel, the first in the acclaimed Mars trilogy, doesn't just depict the physical challenges of settling the Red Planet. It delves deep into the political, ethical, and personal complexities of such an endeavor. The story follows the first 100, a diverse group of scientists and engineers tasked with transforming Mars into a new home for humanity. The narrative unfolds through multiple perspectives, including Nadia, a pragmatic engineer, Sax, an ardent advocate for terraforming, and Anne, a geologist determined to preserve Mars's pristine state. As they build habitats, launch satellites, and debate the planet's future, tensions rise. And not just from the harsh Martian environment, but from ideological clashes and personal entanglements. The novel doesn't shy away from the darker aspects of colonization, including political machinations, betrayals, and even assassination. Now, if you enjoy it or not is going to depend on your interest in politics and science. Robinson's meticulous attention to scientific detail lends authenticity to the narrative, making the challenges of a Martian colonization feel tangible. But beyond the hard science, it's the human element that fails to captivate. I was hoping for characters that are richly drawn, but they're kind of just stand-ins for their differing philosophies. The environmental ethics, political power struggles, and the psychological toll of isolation resonates deeply. I just wish we had characters I could resonate with. Because let's face it, building a new society from scratch is inherently really cool. All in all, Red Mars is a dense, thought-provoking work that challenges readers to consider the moral and ethical implications of terraforming and colonization. However, be prepared for a slow burn. The novel takes its time to build its world and delve into its characters' psyches. It is the first installment of a trilogy, but I'm not 100% sure I'm going to stick with it. Dragon Day is a 2025 Audible original presenting a world where dragons aren't just mythical beasts, but unkillable, terrifying forces that upend civilization overnight. Structured as a fictional oral history, the story is compiled by journalist Neve Pride, who alongside her young daughter, Bex, transverses the devastated landscape, recording the voices of those grappling with this new reality. Dragon Day unfolds through a series of interviews and recordings that capture the immediate aftermath of D-Day, the day dragons emerged and wreaked havoc across the globe. Neve's journey is both professional and personal. While she documents the collapse of government and the rise of new communities, she's also searching for her missing son. The narrative delves into the experiences of various survivors. We have scientists, military leaders, and even ordinary individuals, each offering a unique perspective on the chaos and resilience that define this new world. And this all sounds cool, right? Well, Dragon Day, despite its production value and premise, largely falls flat. See, the audiobook's full cast includes Haley Atwell and Michael Chiklis, and they deliver compelling performances that breathe life into each character. The production's use of spatial audio and sound effects enhances the immersive experience, making listeners feel as though they're part of the unfolding events. But those events themselves? Largely boring. You're led to believe you're getting a gripping, horror-filled journey to survive these menacing dragons, but you don't get much of that. Sure, there are a few chapters that really nail it, but they're few and far between. Part of the issue is the oral history narrative. And I know, before everyone jumps down my throat, this is going to be a hot take. But the oral history narrative hardly ever works. Even World War Z, which is the poster child of this style, it just didn't work for me. I want to be in the scene as it's happening, not hearing about it after. But who knows? Maybe it'll work for you. So that's everything I read in June. A brutal progression in an epic fantasy series, a hard-hitting turn in Dungeon Crawler Carl, a deep dive into the politics of planetary colonization, and a dragon apocalypse told through the voices of survivors. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you read any of these? Are you caught up with Dungeon Crawler Carl? Did Red Mars melt your brain like it did mine? And seriously, how are we all handling the sheer emotional damage John Gwynne keeps throwing at us? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, but as always, keep it spoiler-free for anyone who is still catching up. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, family, and even your enemies. And of course, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button because every subscriber inches me one step closer to taking over the galaxies. Until next time, take care, keep reading, and I'll see you in the next one.